Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our serverless app series. Today is part 5. Can you believe it? And today we are wrapping up some stuff that we had left from last week with the login flow so that we don't have to log in every time we open the app. And then we're going to start some refactoring. We need to start looking at how we're going to make our cloud database manager generic and handle all the different types of objects that we're going to have within our application, and we need to be able to sync back to the database. So yep, that's where we are. That's what we're going to do today. We made improvements to the cloud database manager. We made sure that we've got a way to synchronize data from the cloud back to the phone and vice versa using these snapshot listeners and adding that in as a subscription, basically, which then queries for users and it sort of builds up. All it's doing is querying for those users, but then it's only actually worried about the max user ID. So all we're doing is saving a local copy of the current max user ID. So when we go to register a new user, we know what ID to give them. So there's that. That's all set up. We also went through all our models. So we've got some data models ready for things like comments, where your comment has a content, it has a post ID, it has a user ID, and we've also got, say, for example, follow, so who is following and who is the follower. A like object, which again was just which post are you liking and who is doing the liking. A post, which at the moment is just going to be a string, so we're only doing text posts at the moment. That will change further down the line, but that's all we're doing at the moment. And then finally, our user, which is kind of the one that's got the most data, and even that doesn't have much because we've got an ID, a UID, which is the ID that our authentication service will give us. So we can authenticate a user without having to ever touch passwords, because that is a good thing. The less you have to do with passwords, the better. Let's be honest. We don't want to have to worry about that security. Username, display name, and then just a description as well. So like you have on your Twitter bio, basically. So we've got all those sort of objects set up, and we'll be using those kind of quite heavily throughout the next few weeks. And then that kind of brings us to where we are now. So in the cloud database manager, in the authentication manager, we have this whole process of logging in a user or registering a user. So for example, here we register, if it's a successful instance of registering, we can then save that user, upsert that user, and here and then basically we're using a callback here. So we upsert the user. When it's successful, we use the callback to say, hey, we have upserted this user. So giving the class back the user that it was we just created. And then down here, where we are actually making use of that, is where we said, right, we have done an upsert, so we're going to save the login details, which is where we use the shared preferences just to say, yep, we've logged in, and here's the user ID of the user we've logged in. And then once we've saved the details, we're going to proceed to the feed, which was just this feed activity we created. But here we come in here and this is going to be the main feed activity. It's just setting up a sort of bar menu and all that sort of fun stuff. At the moment, it's the defaults. So there's that. There's also, if we were to just log in a user, we can just do sign in result, get user. Here we're going to get the user information. We get the user ID of the user UID of the user that we've signed in. Then we're going to use the cloud database manager to query for that user. And again, that's going to return in the on query the information that we need. So we're checking here to say, well, if the user list is of size 1, i.e. we've only got one user back, and that user is equal user's ID, that user's UID. Well, that's a mouthful. is equal to the UID that we're using to log in, we'll then again save the login details and proceed to the feed. So the one part we don't yet have set up is, like I said, you've closed the app, you've gone off and you're doing something else, and you come back to the app and you want to just, obviously open the app and just log in. You don't have to log in every time you open the app. That would be silly. So that's the last thing that we need to do, which is where we're going to need to use this shared preferences here. So we're just going to basically copy that into our main activity. So we're going to go in here and we're going to go, right, we'll get our shared preferences. We don't have the context, but that's fine. We just need to do this. And because I'm pretty sure the context that's passed in, yeah, no, that's fine. And where was it? Activity manager. We've got this is login true. So if preferences get boolean, let's log in. Default's going to be false, and basically then we can start this intent, which we have in here. Like so. There we go. Okay, so that basically means that once we've logged in, we don't have to worry about logging in again. It's going to check. It's going to say, well, have we saved that we are in fact logged in? And it's going to check the preference. If there isn't a value for is logged in, it defaults to false. So if we are logged in, it takes us to the next screen. So let's fire that up and we can see that working. Okay, there we go. We'll log in with my email. We'll wait for the auth code. Here we go. 953394. And there we go. We are logged in. So we're now logged into the application. We've logged in now, and this is the screen that I was talking about where we've kind of just got a thing going on. This is kind of the default that we've set up. We've got the fragment layout, so we've got a settings menu which does nothing yet. We've got this thing which does nothing yet. That will obviously be a post, tweet button or something. And we've got a menu that comes outside, which again, you guessed it, does nothing yet. It's all just, defaults. We need to clean that up. But that's working. Now, if we go ahead and close the app and then reopen it, ta-da, we're logged straight back in as opposed to going to the login screen. Isn't that beautiful? You love to see it. You love to see it. You love to see when something actually works. So that's kind of the login functionality completely done. And just to kind of hammer it home, let's just pop onto the web so you can see. Yeah, so we're going to pop into my sort of demo system. And if we go into our cloud database service, and we take a look in the data entries, cloud database Barker, object type a user, don't need any query conditions. There I am, one Mr. Zachary. It's my UID for the email, and that's my account. So that's pretty cool. It's time to build an application, basically. So we need to start thinking about what is going to work where. I think really the first kind of feature that we need to implement is the ability to make a post, because until you can write a post, there isn't any post to display, so there's no point in writing the thing that says display a post. So basically we want to create an ability to make a post. That's where we're at. So we need to think about that from all the different levels. So let's start at the lowest. We're not worrying about the UI or anything yet. Let's start at the lowest level. We'll go from lowest up, basically. So we need the ability to upsert a post object to the database. That is the basic requirement. We also need to be able to know what the correct ID, the current max ID is. So we've got this cloud manager at the moment, but this cloud manager is only really responsible for users. It's got max users, it's got all that sort of stuff. And it's not doing anything else. So it's at this point that we kind of descended into a bit of madness of trying to decide whether we should try and make a generic class that handles any objects that extend a base type, or if we should be making specific child classes for each type of object and their cloud database functionality. I think on stream, this took about half an hour of playing around. We started going down the route of having a base class and then children classes that kind of extended that for each type for the cloud manager. But after a while, I decided that that wasn't the route to go, and actually things would be much simpler if we took a more generic route. The reasons being that, for the most part, every type of object, we have the same things going on for it. We want to be able to upsert, we want to be able to query, we want to be able to delete, and that's about it. So there was no real need to have this kind of class hierarchy when it could all just be done with one generic class that we then specify which type of object when we create an instance of the class. This obviously meant that actually at this point we are kind of going back on ourselves a bit and refactoring something that we'd started to refactor. So it's a little bit messy, but the end result is really good, and certainly check it out in the Git repository to kind of see more about that. Cloud gateway server object. That makes sense. We're good. We're good. We're good. Can I import that statically though? Because I really don't like how that looks. We'll worry about it. So, okay. Yeah, you are going to complain. We don't need you anymore. We do need you. This is going to be snapshot, and that's T. It's an object. I should know that by now. Cloud zones object. Object. Cloud. Sure, that's fine. And we can make that part of the callback. The constructor, sorry. Like that. And do that. Oh, okay, yeah. Because we don't know that those are necessarily going to cast properly. That's fine. We can do that. That looks reasonable. Okay. And so that's that sorted. Okay. The upserting. We're going to change that to just be upsert. And that is going to be upsetting T and his object. And that's fine. Update max user ID. We're going to change that to update max ID. Get rid of the user bit. It's fine. Delete user is nice and easy. Delete. Get max ID. It's also nice and easy because we are actually already got the max ID there. It's fine, like so. This is what's called change. Oh, excuse me. Update max ID. Now, the thing is, I just thought, yeah. So, object doesn't necessarily have, at the moment, doesn't necessarily have that get ID method, but we know that ours will. So, these at the moment extend that, but what we're going to do is we need to create a base object. So, we're going to create our own base object, which we'll put the user ID stuff in, and that's it. The ID stuff in rather, and that's it. And everything else will be in their own classes. So base CloudDB zone object, like so. We've got a lot going on now. Right, we can just use comment. That's fine. So this is going to extend like that. It'll have constructor. Yep. And that's fine. Things we are actually moving up here, so we're going to say that this is now a primary. This has got a primary key. This is it. And the getters and setters for that. And that's it, really. Okay, so that means that we can now have, this is going to be a base cloud database object, queue, which goes there. You're going to extend that. That means that our get ID now works. So we just need to then make all our objects extend that instead. Getting rid of the IDs along the way because we don't need them there anymore. What are you complaining about now? Oh yeah, you're still complaining. That's fine. You can keep complaining about that. I do not care. Okay, and likes the same. Cool. That's still all the same, and then just the post. Oh, and user. Okay. So that's becoming nicely generic, and that's kind of the aim, really, is to get this thing generic, because we can then use it across everything, and we'll rename that again, of course. Rename this again, of course. Okay, so that's all good. Right, next we've got another query. So where did we have that add subscription? It's there, isn't it? So this is literally just gonna query and that, and we have a query, not yet, but we will, and that will call it, we'll just call it query. Get all, we'll just call it get all. Go, that's the next thing. Query, let's call it query. Oh, I see. Yep. We want. Oh, okay. So it's yeah. So it's base object. Where are we? Like that. And what's next? T, please. Okay, and again, wants to use the process results. We're not there yet. That's fine. Last bit of that file is done with. So we'll put this. And this is the one bit that we'll need to do some extra work on. That's for sure. So T cursor. We're just going to call that cursor now. Oh, actually no, because it converts it for us. I'm being silly. Use add list. Oh, okay, yeah. So object list. Look at that. And as far as I'm aware, other than it probably complaining at us a bit because we need to change the names of calling methods, we should be good. Refactor. I'll get rid of that base. It ain't all about that base no more. And we are using it in the authentication manager. So yes, this is where obviously we do need to change things. And we're specifically wanting the object. Yep, so this is going to be user. Oh, okay, so we just want to pass in. Yeah, just new. That's right, isn't it? It's not abstract yet. We're not abstract anymore. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's right. What did I just change? Genuinely not sure. Okay, now I'm just clicking things. And that is everything for today, I think. We've got some more cleaning up to do, but I'm going to do that between videos and get things ready for next time, where we'll start making the process of making a post and displaying the posts. As always, thank you very much for watching. Do make sure that you like this video and drop a comment if you have enjoyed yourself. And please do subscribe as well so that you can watch more of these tutorials. We'll be doing other tutorial series in the future as well. So it's always worth a follow if you're at all interested in Android stuff. Alright guys, thank you very much and I'll see you next time.